Woohoo! Yeah, we are live on YouTube. Welcome everyone. This is Sunday, January 8th and 2023. This is our YouTube debut for our community, the Evolving Sisters community. And I'm Kenlyn, and this is Soul Education for the Awakened Woman. I'm delighted to be here. Every Sunday, I'm here at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and I do a Dharma talk and a gene key transmission. So if you're not familiar with the gene keys, those were a body of work from Richard Rudd that came from the world of human design. And I like to riff on them. And I riff on them through looking at where the sun is hitting that particular gene key and also where the moon is hitting it. So if we have a new moon, the moon and the sun are in the same gene key. If we have a full moon, like we just did, the full moon is the opposite. And that's the programming partner of that gene key. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to know anything about the gene keys because these are standalone. These are just spontaneous, in the moment transmissions of a particular body of work from a living wisdom tradition. So don't get caught up in whether you know what this is. It's kind of like astrology. Don't get caught up in whether you know the astrology. Don't get caught up in anything, really. Just simply listen. And what I like to say is listen with ears that are soft. It's like your eye gaze, right? You can focus on something, and when you focus on something with your eyes, what happens is you lose peripheral vision. But if you focus softly, you see the thing in front of you and you see things peripherally. And look, we have some people. Yay. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is exciting, isn't it? England, yeah, put where you are in the world. I'd love to just co-create our field of light with our entire community. So these Sunday transmissions are a little bit longer because it's community oriented. I'm interacting with you all, and I'm also giving you a pretty big download. And then I'm also creating videos for my YouTube channel that are shorter so that if you just want to take bite sizes. Yes, so please put in where you're from. I see England. I know Myrna is from Denver and Robin from New Mexico. Yeah, near Taos. Awesome. So exciting to have this new platform. So we've been on Facebook, and then I've been posting the replays to this YouTube channel. And now we get to just be here live and welcome more sisters live. YouTube's a beautiful platform. It's a lot of education, and my mission is soul education for the awakened woman. All right, feeling into the sisterhood. That's awesome. 2 Sundays a month being prior. Yeah. Okay. She's talking. Thank you, Sheila or Stella. Stella's talking about the Evolving Sisters Network. We are going to meet as the Evolving Sisters Network after this. It's called Walking the Razor's Edge. And that's where we as a community integrate the teachings from this Dharma talk. And we have a sharing circle and often meditations or practices. It's really beautiful. It's how you get to know each other. You can pay for it one-off, or you can pay the same amount for the whole month and access the replays. Or I would say too, but also, this is not the only thing we're going to do inside the Evolving Sisters Network. We're going to do quite a bit. Oh, it's starting to pour rain where I'm here in Tulum. So just so you know, at any time, if I pop off because of the internet and whatever, I'll always come back on. I'll always put a video back on. So oftentimes, we just get to pivot with what's happening. So anyway, with the Evolving Sisters Network, we're going to have a lot of robust activities and connection points inside of the membership. So it's not just walking the razor's edge. And you'll also get replays. So let's kind of dive in. How do I access the Zoom link? Oh, for the Walking the Razor's Edge? Yes. I'm glad we're dealing with like admin details here. I am going to be doing an orientation call on January 12th for everyone inside of the Evolving Sisters Network. So what you get to do, network members, is go inside your portal, your membership portal. You all have a username and password, and you get to download the calendar invitations, which has the Zoom link. The Zoom link is all there too. It has events. All the events are listed with all the Zoom links. They're not publicly available because it's inside the portal. These are members only things. All right, so yeah, you're here. I'm so glad you're here, Vanessa. Yeah, Vanessa's from Paris. Tracy, awesome to see you. You're in Encinitas. All right, loves, let's dive into the teaching of Gene Key 54. It's freaking awesome. And its programming partner is 53 because the full moon that we just had has been lighting up Gene Key 53. So 54 and 53 are both the frequencies of abundance. I get chills. Prosperity, abundance, and I'm talking cash money. I'm not just talking spiritual abundance, but that is in the higher frequencies of the gene keys. I'm talking about cash money. This is a very material, meaning 3D in a body, physical gene keys. 53, 54. It's in the ring of seeking. So that means that it has evolutionary pressure. So you can feel into your evolutionary pressure. Sometimes pressure is not bad. Like evolution needs pressure, or we would have died a long time ago because we wouldn't have had the pressure to survive. So this is that pressure to evolve and to become materially prosperous. That's what we're going to dive into today. Katie, welcome. I am going to put in the link below a couple things: the Evolving Sisters Network URL website, and I'm also going to put my free gift to you guys. And if you haven't downloaded it, I'd love for you to download it because I'm also going to be talking about the moon cycles. And those moon cycles are the full moon and the new moon. And so I have a book, an ebook, and a calendar, which has intentions and release statements and keynotes. It's very robust, 28 pages of all the new moons and full moons throughout 2023. And so you can go down to evolvingsisters.com, scroll all the way to the bottom. If you're not a member, if you're a member, you already have this. But you can get that for free, members or not members. Anyone can get this. And I really strongly encourage you to get it because it's going to support you in their practice. We just came through a full moon. I'll get to some admin details at the end, just in case, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. But if people are joining, let's let them have the transmission first, and then we'll get to some admin details. And y'all, this is new, so it's okay. Let's breathe through the things that we don't understand. Let's breathe through it because all of it's going to come online. You're not going to miss anything. It's all going to be good. I get to surrender all the time as the person creating this thing because it's step by step. And these gene keys talk about how do you keep your drishti, your third eye gaze, on an aim while doing all the steps. And it's not all rainbows and butterflies, as we know from these teachings. Okay. So let's dive in, and then we'll get to any of the details that you don't understand about the portal. So 53, 54. So the sun is in 54. And I'm going to do inside of the network, I'm going to do a little training for you guys on the gene keys, because I really want us to deepen into the basic architecture of the gene keys and your chart, just so that you can play a little bit deeper with me in these transmissions. But as I said, you don't need to know anything because they stand alone. So 54, if you have a birthday right now, you are in Gene Key 54. And so Parsamahansa Yogananda, Autobiography of a Yogi, his birthday was when the sun hit Gene Key 54. And that gives me goosebumps because I'm going to tell you a little bit more about why that is, like what he was able to bring into 3D because of this gene key. I also have two friends who have this as their life work, and they have started they have been my inspiration for starting the Evolving Sisters Network, because they have large networks, and that really coincides with this Gene Key 54. Not the fact that it's a large network, the fact that it is a spiritual business in the realm of supporting consciousness, because that's what 54 is about. I have 54, not as my life work, but in my attractor field. And I'll explain that later. You don't need to know what that is, but in my attractor field, I have Gene Key 54. So it plays a very prominent, important role in my life. So I love this gene key because it's very practical. It's very much about life on Earth. The 54 shadow is greed. And it program partners with the 53, and that is called immaturity. And immaturity in this sense, and this is where the full moon has hit, immaturity in this sense means spiritual immaturity. You just don't evolve. You're still playing the game of greed, of material wealth, of the accumulation of material wealth, and you don't really get what it's for. You don't even get why you're doing it. So greed, the mechanism of greed, and we all know this, and I'm just presencing that this is the lowest frequency, the shadow frequency that humanity is experiencing, that it is poised to evolve, because remember, we're all going into a higher level of consciousness. We call it the gift frequency. We're going into that in the next 4 years by 2027. And if you're watching this, most likely you have already started to embrace the gift frequency. The gift frequency of consciousness. How do you play this game in a better way, in a more conscious, evolved way? The cities, the highest level of these energies, are not even about playing the game at all. They're like the end of the game, waking up to who and what you really are. So in 54, we have the shadow of just material accumulation. And you know those people, and maybe you were one, or maybe you had this thought before, that if you just got more money, it would solve all of your problems. And you know now, through probably life initiated you, that is not true. So 54 people are caught in the cycle of accumulating. Someone told me yesterday that people who have attained a level of materiality, prosperous materiality, money, at some point, all of their demons surface. Yeah, so you always have to pay the piper, no matter what. You cannot bypass your wounding, your trauma. It all needs to come up to be healed. Now, oftentimes in the spiritual community, what we have done is we have distanced ourselves from material wealth. And that is also a shadow frequency of Gene Key 54. Believe it or not, that's a shadow. That's saying that I'm gonna elevate spiritual wealth, seeking information, seeking consciousness above my own physical well-being. Now that's something really important to take in. Beyond my own physical well-being. So 54 and 53 are really asking you, what is enough? What do you need? And with all this activity over the last 2 years in Capricorn, we have been initiated into asking ourselves these kinds of questions. So that's why you'll see a lot of spiritual business. The Divine Feminine Business Mastery that I've run, now I move that into the Divine Feminine or the Evolving Sisters Business Mastery Accelerator program. Still the same content, but it's about coaches and healers making their first 6 figures. Like those kinds of things have been really popular because Capricorn has wanted us to climb the mountain, the goat, climb the mountain of success. So we're presencing that here as we're moving more and more into the Aquarian age. So we get to have this under our belt so that we can move powerfully into the next steps. So this is a call to action. If you haven't gotten your abundance online, then you get to. Now I use the word prosperity and abundance interchangeably. I have in this transmission, but I want to make a distinction. And it was really Jaidev Singh who supported in this, and I loved what he said. And that is to say that scarcity and abundance both live in polarity. So he likened it to the negative mind and the positive mind in the Kundalini Yoga tradition. It's one of the 10 bodies, the positive mind, the negative mind. So the negative mind is scarcity. It's always saying no. And it's focusing on lack. Now, nothing in polarity is wrong because some people can't say no, right? And so they have too much abundance. They are saying yes, like think about it. You have so much abundance in your schedule that you can't get a freaking thing done because you have, along the matrix of positive and negative, you have a lot of positive, but you don't know how to say no. You don't know how to prioritize. The no people are walling off life for whatever reason, maybe a story, maybe a victim story, and you don't know how to receive. So that's the access point of polarity. Now, what is outside of polarity? So we always talk about accessing the third way. There's a third way, and that's called prosperity. So if we think about a triangle, at the top of the triangle is this third way because it involves yes and no. It involves saying no to the things that are not yours and yes to the things that are yours. And as a result, you become prosperous. And what does that really mean? I believe that it means that you have enough. And I am going to have a workshop coming up on January 19th. I did say before it was the 13th. It's moved to the 19th. It's right before the new moon. Members will get 50% off. We're going to launch it. I think by Thursday, you'll get an email about it. But here's the thing. It's called The World is Your Oyster. And it is a process that I have been initiated into of superabundance. And it's not a spiritual bypass. It's not like affirmations. It's not even an intention. It has nothing to do with the outside world, whether the world's going to hell in a handbasket, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens. It's a frequency and it touches into non-ordinary reality. To me, that is the essence of prosperity. So I'm teaching that. You can put it on your calendar and expect to see the email. If you don't get emails from me, then just download that Moon and You PDF and you'll automatically be on my email list. And if you're catching this replay later, this will be for sale later, but we're going to do it for 2023. And I'll share more about that later. This is just like, it's so funny how it segued into this teaching, but I call it The World is Your Oyster. That is the essence of prosperity. When you walk around knowing, and feel into that for a second, how would you walk around knowing that the world is your oyster? So when you think about an oyster, right, when you open it up, what's inside of it? A pearl. So it's a jewel. So inside of whether it's obstacles, challenges, hardships, life doing life, it doesn't matter. Inside is a jewel. And that's what this teaching is about. The jewel in the lotus, the jewel in the oyster. Prosperity is knowing that the world is your oyster. And so when you feel into that, what do you need to experience in order to have that? Just type that into the chat. Katie says, I have enough, I am enough, and this moment is enough. Bingo. That's super beautiful. What I would say, in addition to, like, put your whatever you have, whatever resonates with you, put that into the chat. For me, and for the teachings of the Gene Keys, they talk about this. It's the word trust. It's the word trust. That you trust life. When you trust life, you trust yourself. You trust that who you are is enough. You trust that you can handle anything. And when you trust that life is for you, then you have an access point to prosperity. Yeah, confidence. Mindset matters, says confidence. I love that. So Gene Key 54 is a biological imperative, meaning we incarnated with this pressure of greed to get more as a biological imperative. But here's the thing, it only takes you so far in our evolutionary process, right? We have to include that and transcend that in order to go to the gift. And the gift is called aspiration. I like the word, it really is the transmission of ambition, and I like to call it sacred ambition. I have 54, so I can relate very strongly to ambition. Some of you can and some of you cannot. But let me tell you that that pressure inside of your system, whether it's hidden or suppressed or totally available or off the charts for you, ambition is an evolutionary pressure. And it is the next step after greed, after this like accumulation to get. Then what happens is we start to see that we have the capacity to accumulate, but we only want to do it for a higher purpose. That is aspiration. That is sacred ambition. And the people who have this in their life work have built beautiful things, including Yogananda. Like, think about it. He was one of the first gurus to come to the US. Nobody saw an Indian person talking about like Eastern philosophy back then. And the reason why we have so much footage is because some like CEOs of Kodak were one of his students, and they started filming everything. So that's why we have this incredible library of content about his work. But his imprint on Western culture to accept Eastern mindset, even through Christianity, right? Because his work was to synthesize Christianity and Eastern philosophy. Like, what a huge impact. You have to have ambition for something like that. You have to have drive, because shit happens, and what keeps you on the path? So if you think about Yogananda's story, he was betrayed by his best friend, the person he had been meditating with since the age of 7. And later in life, he experienced a betrayal. And he went back to his guru in India to lick his wounds. And what ended up happening? He got to go back out. You know, he got re-inspired to come back out. And that's really what ambition does. It keeps you in the game, because your purpose is bigger than you. And therein lies one of the keys to superabundance. Your purpose is bigger than you. It's like, what would you die for? We remember Gene Key 3839 we talked about last week. Then it turns into, what would you really live for? That's what Gene Key 54 is asking you to put into action. Okay, so Vanessa says you would need to get rid of fear. Well, in my experience, Vanessa, I have not gotten rid of fear. It's still there. And I do it anyway. Because my third eye, my inner gaze, is on a target that has me more inspired than my fear. So maybe rather than get rid of fear, how about becoming more inspired than your fear, right? Like, let's say your fear just doesn't inspire you anymore. It's kind of boring. And so now we get to focus on what does inspire you. And I know you, Vanessa, you have a lot of big things that inspire you. Making our faith bigger than our fear. That's exactly. The cows trust the grass, Brittany. I love that. All right, so let me just look and see if there's anything else I want to share about this. Well, yeah, I do, because as you maybe saw in some of my reels that I posted on Instagram, I have been initiated into my light body. That's like such a freaking 2023 statement. And it's very epic. It's very big, that statement. And it feels very normal in a lot of ways. My gene key is the city of light. So maybe this wasn't inevitable. But it does correspond with this city of 54. So it's worth presencing the big picture of enlightenment, because really that's where we all are already that. So when I say I've been initiated into my homo luminous, my light body, I am already that. It's just my awareness has expanded to understand and receive that information. And what's happening in, as far as I can tell, in evolution in our communities, is that all of you are receiving these kinds of downloads. So it really helps to talk about it. 54 moves from greed, doing shit for yourself and just accumulating all the wealth, not understanding even that accumulation will eventually break the whole system. So corporations that are built on accumulating and expanding, like that's the 53 programming partner, the gift expansion, and they act as a cancer where they're just consuming and consuming and consuming. I can see that here in Tulum with the development. It's just more and more and more. It's like a cancer. That is the shadow frequency, and that cannot sustain itself. It will break the system. So at some point, you then go, okay, I have to actually, I got this part down and I get to serve the community. And so I guess we get to say for a minute to pause and say, so spiritual people, if you are not experiencing financial abundance, this is your opportunity to harness ambition in a sacred way, to get on your purpose and be so on fire of your purpose that you actually experience material abundance as a result. Especially those of you who have your North Node in Virgo. I sometimes bring in a little astrology. North Node in Virgo means your South Node was in Pisces and you're used to meditating, but you're not used to making money. You are here to make money. If you're born like 1979, like you're going to make money. And we're all here to make money because it's a 3D thing. This is the way the game is played right now. We're eating food and we're making money. Those things will go away as we evolve. We won't need them, but we do need them now as part of the steps of our evolution, because everything in evolution is included and transcended. So in order to transcend it, you have to actually do the thing. You have to eat the fruits of it in order to know what the next step is. You can't know what the next step is without achieving a certain level of material prosperity, meaning all your needs are met. You have enough. So then we're playing this game of sacred ambition. And what we know about this evolutionary pressure is that it's physical. And this is the same pressure that coil, that snake of energy coiled at the base that starts to awaken, called Kundalini energy. That's the nature of it. So that starts to awaken and it moves up the chakras in a 2.5 spiral, and it opens your third eye and your crown. And what happens is you see the nature of reality, but it's very physical. It happens in the body, which is why there are yogic traditions like Kundalini yoga. And so we go back to Yogananda, his gene key 54. What did he create? He created Kriya Yoga. He didn't create it. He brought Kriya Yoga practices to the West. And today, you cannot just do his Kriya Yoga practice. You actually have to go through a year-long, I think it's a year-long still, initiation of receiving his teachings. And they have it all in an app now. They spent all this time and effort putting all of it into an app. And you get these lessons over time so that you are ready to receive the Kundalini activation through the Kriyas. Isn't that freaking epic? Some people have said like, oh, that's patriarchal. I'm not really going to judge it either way. I see that some practices like the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they were kept secret, and they believed the tantrics at the time who wrote the Tibetan Book of the Dead knew, it was actually his wife that hid it, knew that those teachings would come out when people are ready. So I just feel like we're talking about it because we're ready. And I can see through my own experience of my light body activation that we can go way off the charts and create a rubber band effect when we go too far out there with our energy. So that's what happened to me. And I shared that story in IG Reels. I was talking about how I got initiated. This energy moved through me. There was no breath work. There was no plant medicine. It was totally Kundalini energy. But I went way far out there, and then the rubber band effect, I came back and I had to sleep, I had to eat, I had to really ground myself into my physical body, because these practices of unleashing, when we unleash that energy, it's fucking real. It's life force energy. It's primordial energy. Holy shit, it created the universe. And we have it inside of us. And this physical body can get massively blown. It's just like our physical body is like kind of a small house, right? With big energy, like Tesla energy inside of a small house. So these practices, the reason why they've been kept secret is to go through a process. And 54 talks about it. Like, no, you got to go through a process in order to get to the place where you can hold this energy. I think a lot of like the work that I was doing, what the teacher had shared was like, just keep doing it and you'll figure out the terrain. Because what I realized is I didn't know the terrain, like how far can I go out? So sometimes we have to make a mistake, like it's not a mistake, but we have to go so far out, feel the consequence of that in order to modulate, to get more and more refined. Because what we say in 54, this is all physical energy. We're starting with a very gross energy, like dense, heavy energy. It's the energy of accumulation. But then as we go up, it's more and more subtle, more and more refined. It's like just me sitting on a mat, and all of a sudden the awakened serpent happens, and bam, I'm open into my light body. I see that I'm a galactic citizen, and I realize that everything is light. And then I come back down, and I get to exist in this 3D world. So what's happening in evolution right now is this merging of the 5D and the 3D so that we can live powerfully. And Gene Key 54, 53 is reminding you, you do have to live here. The fruits of your labor are here. And we're so much bigger than here. So I hope that's supported, because there's a lot of technology coming forward right now that our consciousnesses are ready for, which is why it's becoming known, not secret anymore. And we have access to it. I'll say too that like a lot of millennials are just on it. I've been over at this retreat center and almost everybody is a millennial, and I'm just witnessing how developed they are in consciousness, because they're just taking this on and taking this on. And a lot of them are getting super blown out because they don't really know how to play with these energies. So sometimes people can get depressed, like especially like you go do plant medicine in Peru and then you come back and you're depressed. Why is that? Because you went so far out and you didn't integrate it. So now there's even coaches that are integrating plant medicine, integrating 5D technology. Do you see how like our world is constantly pivoting? So there's a place for every single person, everyone listening to this transmission. There's a place for you to serve as a healer. So you get to figure out what is your purpose? What's the thing that you know how to do that you can support the collective in this evolutionary process, in the process of awakening. And then you get to join programs like the Business Mastery or the Rise Leadership Incubator, places or other people's programs, places where you can actually then learn the structure of how to make wealth or how to create it into a program so that people want to digest it. They can digest it and they want to digest it. Okay, so I think that really is the framework for, I'm just looking at my notes, for Gene Key 54 and 53. We just came through a full moon. I know it was a very emotional, powerful full moon, and I hope you did your practice. I created my release statement. It's in my Moon and You book that I just mentioned earlier. It's called The Moon and You, Embodying Feminine Leadership Through Living the Cycles of the Moon. And I created my full moon statement, and that served as a major release of what I needed to release in order to access an even greater, in an even greater way, the field of superabundance. The world is my oyster. And I kept saying that last night. I was at this incredible concert last night, watching the full moon rise in Tulum with one of my besties on the beach. And she just kept looking at me like, is this real? And I was like, the world is my oyster. And that's true, no matter if I have a bad day or if anyone's or if the world news or family news or anything. I'm always available for the ways that miracles and magic can show up in my life. And that's the teaching of 54. And so hopefully these moon practices can support you in keeping your eye gaze, your drishti, your third eye point on what you're creating, and also releasing the things that are in the way. You know, that Rumi statement, right? To receive that more love, you need to release the obstacles to that love. To receive more prosperity, to more abundance, more cash money, then release the obstacles to those very things and become that person who is the receptor site of superabundance. All right. Woo! All right, sisters, thank you for being here. I've had so much fun on this live stream. In 20 minutes, we're going to jump over to Walking the Razor's Edge. The Zoom link, now here's where I'm going to give some admin details. The Zoom link is contained inside the portal. Now, the portal has its own special URL. It's called my.geniekey evolvingsisters.com, and you have a username and a password. And if you don't remember the password, you can reset it. Their username is usually the email address that you paid for the membership. So use that, use your password or get your new password going. That will get you entry inside of the portal. Some people have had technical difficulties, and that's because of your browser. So we get to learn new technology. So I usually reboot my computer, and then I use Chrome. And if I've been using Chrome and that doesn't work, then I hop on my phone and use Safari, and one of those works, because sometimes other countries have different rules with their browser. But across the board, this has been working. Those are just little things, little hacks. And then you go in and you can see the events that you have access to. And there will be a Zoom link. There's also a calendar invite. I love calendar invites because all you have to do is download it to your phone. And then I look at my phone and I have in that schedule, I have the Zoom link. So it just makes life a lot easier as we're going super fast through life. Take the time to set yourself up so that everything is smooth, even during retrogrades. You can find all the things that you need. All right. Please share the app. I'm not sure what that means. The app. Not sure what that means. So you go into my.evolvingsisters.com, and that is the portal entry, and you get to download all the things for the Evolving Sisters Network. Every Sunday right after this live stream, we do Walking the Razor's Edge, which is a community sharing circle, and we integrate these teachings. And then on January 12th, we're going to do an orientation call, and that's where I'll answer all your technical questions and talk about the future of Evolving Sisters Network and how you can play a part of that and how you are playing a part of that. And then we have The World is Your Oyster. That's my workshop, 3 hours on the 19th of January. And I'm going to teach you in 4 steps this portal. We're going to complete 2023. We're going to open up this mindset of the world is your oyster. And then we're going to create 2020 or complete 2022. And then we're going to create 2023. And then that's when you walk away with your soul symbol and your mantra and also an embodiment practice. All of that happens really beautifully, connecting in with non-ordinary realities so that your subconscious gets what you're really up to, and you find yourself causing and creating serendipity, miracles, magic, all the fun stuff that light bodies get to do when we're in a physical body. All right. Mwah. I love you guys so much. This has been super fun. I'll see you next week here for my Dharma talks. Blessings and blessings to all of you. May all beings benefit from the merits of our efforts. Namaste.